Allow yourself, just for this moment, to set everything down. Whatever the day carried, its weight, its noise, its unfinished edges, you do not need to carry it any further tonight. This is the threshold of rest, and you are welcome here. Let your body sink a little deeper into wherever you are lying. Feel the surface beneath you, solid, steady, holding you completely. You do not have to hold yourself right now. You are already held. Take one slow breath in through your nose and release it gently through your mouth. Let that breath carry away the last tension in your shoulders. And again, breathe in the quiet of this night and breathe out whatever does not belong to you in this hour. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. The night has arrived, and with it comes its ancient, sacred gift: rest. Tonight, we travel far back along the golden thread of time to a world of desert sunsets and evening stars, of wells hewn from ancient stone, and of two souls whose meeting was arranged not by chance, but by the quiet hand of the divine. Welcome to Bible Secrets, Hidden History. Tonight, we step away from the mysteries of the past to find the timeless rest and peace hidden within the sacred word. This is a story of guidance, of trust, and of love, finding its way across 100 miles of golden desert. A story that has cradled weary hearts for thousands of years. Let it cradle yours tonight. Close your eyes now if you have not already. The journey begins. As you settle into the quiet of this night, if this space brings you peace, consider subscribing to Bible Secrets, Hidden History, and saving our sleep meditation playlist for the nights ahead. Let your gentle like be a silent prayer, one that guides other weary souls to this same place of rest. And now, let us return to the stillness. Chapter 1: The Weight of a Promise. In the land of Canaan, in the final season of a very old man's life, there was a promise that needed to be kept. Abraham was ancient now, his hair as white as the limestone hills that rolled beyond his tent, his hands weathered by decades of sun and wind and the particular kind of faith that does not waver even when it cannot see. He had walked with God across half the known world. He had held a son he thought he would never have. And now, as the long shadows of his years stretched out before him, one great task remained, quietly pressing against his heart like a stone that must be moved before rest can come. His son, Isaac, needed a wife. Not merely a companion, though Isaac's heart was tender and quietly longing. Not merely a practical arrangement, though the customs of the land demanded such care. No. This was something older, something woven into the very covenant that God had spoken over Abraham like a blessing breathed into living air. The lineage of promise had to continue. The story had to go on. And so Abraham called to him his oldest and most trusted servant, a man who had walked beside him through every season of his life, who knew the rhythms of the household, the weight of a vow, and the quiet art of listening for the voice of God in the details of ordinary days. Picture this servant now. He is not young, but he is steady. His face is lined with the kind of experience that money cannot purchase, the earned calm of a man who has seen much and understood more. He sits at the entrance of Abraham's tent in the warm amber light of a late afternoon, and he listens as the old patriarch speaks. "Swear to me," Abraham says softly, "by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I live. Go to my country, to my kindred, and take a wife for my son." The servant breathes slowly. He understands the gravity, but he also understands something else. that a man who walks with God does not walk alone, that behind this errand, behind these long miles of open desert and foreign cities, there is a hand already at work, arranging the pieces of a story whose end is already written in love. He takes the oath. He begins to prepare. Let the image of that preparation wash over you now. The gentle sounds of a camp readying itself, the soft clinking of water jars being loaded, the murmur of 10 camels settling under their burden, the low creak of leather and the dry rustle of supply bundles in the warm afternoon air. Everything chosen with care, everything prepared with intention. There is a comfort in that, in the thought that someone has prepared carefully for you, that the journey you are on tonight did not happen by accident, that you too are cared for by a hand that knows where you are going, even when you cannot yet see the way. Rest in that thought for a moment. Let it settle into you like warmth. Chapter 2. The long road through the desert. The caravan departed early, before the sun had fully committed to the sky. 10 camels moved through the pre-dawn stillness of Canaan, their footfalls muffled in the soft earth, their breath rising in small pale clouds in the cool morning air. The servant rode at the front, his eyes forward, his heart turned inward in quiet prayer. Ahead of him lay hundreds of miles, the long, open stretch of ancient road that would carry him from Canaan north and east, through the sparse beauty of the desert, toward the city of Nahor in the land of Mesopotamia. Imagine that journey with soft eyes, not the hardship of it, for this hour is not made for hardship, but the strange and particular beauty of traveling through open land under a vast sky. The desert in the ancient world was not merely empty, it was full of a different kind of presence. The silence there was not the silence of absence, but the silence of something very old and very patient, waiting quietly beneath the surface of things. By day, the sun cast everything in warm gold and soft amber. The sand shimmered at the edges. The scrub plants along the road released a dry, clean fragrance into the air whenever the breeze stirred them. The camels moved in their unhurried rhythm, their bodies swaying gently like great ships on a slow-rolling sea. And by night, oh by night, the desert became something else entirely. The servant would have stopped the caravan as the stars appeared, one by one, in the darkening dome above. He would have lain down on his blanket and looked upward, and the sky would have been so clear, so brilliantly, heartbreakingly clear, that the stars seemed not distant but close, as though the entire canopy of heaven had come down to rest just above the earth, watching over every sleeping traveler below. That same sky is above you now. You may not be able to see it through your ceiling, through your walls, through the ordinary barriers of modern life, but it is there, the same ancient darkness, the same faithful stars, the same quiet presence that watched over Abraham's servant as he slept in the open air of the desert, trusting that tomorrow the road would continue, that God had not forgotten the errand, that love would find its way. You are beneath that same canopy tonight. You are held beneath the same watchful sky. Perhaps that is enough. Perhaps that is everything. The days passed in that gentle rhythm of movement and rest, and slowly the landscape shifted. The desert gave way to scrubland, the scrubland to greener hills, the hills to the outskirts of a city. The servant began to recognize landmarks that Abraham had described. He felt something tighten and then release in his chest, the particular feeling of a prayer beginning to crystallize into reality. He was almost there. Chapter 3. The well at evening. It was the hour of the evening, the hour when the day releases its heat, and the air becomes something softer, something breathable again. when Abraham's servant brought his caravan to rest just outside the city of Nahor. There was a well there. In that ancient world, a well was never merely a practical thing. It was a gathering place. It was the center of a village's daily story, the place where people came and went, where greetings were exchanged, where the rhythms of ordinary life flowed and collected like the water itself. And at the hour of evening, it was the place where the women of the city came to draw water for their households. Their clay jars balanced gracefully on their shoulders, their voices low and unhurried in the gathering dusk. The servant stopped his camels here and did something very simple, very human, and very beautiful. He prayed. Not a long, complicated prayer, not a formal recitation of impressive words. A plain, honest prayer, spoken quietly from a tired heart to a God he had spent decades learning to trust. "Lord God of my master Abraham," he whispered, "grant me success today and show steadfast love to my master Abraham. Here I am, standing by the spring. Let it be that the young woman who comes out to draw water, and to whom I say, 'Please let down your jar that I may drink,' if she says, 'Drink, and I will water your camels also,' let her be the one you have appointed for your servant Isaac." It is such a tender prayer. There is no demand in it, no insistence, only a quiet request and a quiet willingness to watch for an answer. Only a man standing at the edge of a moment he cannot control, extending his open hand toward heaven and saying, "Show me. Please, show me." Before the prayer had fully dissolved into the warm evening air, she came. Rebekah. Let the name arrive in you, softly. Rebekah. 3 syllables like the gentle turning of a page. She was young, and her beauty was the kind that does not announce itself but is simply, quietly present, the way a flame in a still room gives off its light without any effort at all. She carried her clay jar on her shoulder, with the ease of someone accustomed to the task, moving with the natural grace of a person who is at home in their own life, undisturbed by the watching world. She walked down to the spring, filled her jar, and turned to come back up. And the servant stepped forward. "Please," he said, and even that word, "please," was a kind of prayer. "Please give me a little water to drink from your jar." Rebekah looked at him, a traveling stranger, an old man, tired from a long road, asking for water in the simple, direct way that people ask for things when they are genuinely weary and genuinely in need. She did not hesitate. She did not calculate. She lowered her jar immediately. "Drink, my lord." The water was cool. The evening air around the well smelled of damp stone and dry earth, and the faint sweetness of the surrounding landscape as it released the day's warmth into the dusk. The servant drank, and when he had finished, Rebekah looked at the 10 camels standing patiently at the edge of the spring, their great necks bowed, their flanks dusty from the road. "I will draw water for your camels also," she said, "until they have finished drinking." Let that settle. She drew water for 10 camels. 10 thirsty camels, after a long desert journey, can drink an extraordinary amount. This was not a small or effortless offer. This was generous, genuinely and abundantly generous. The kind of generosity that does not stop to calculate its own cost, that simply sees a need and moves toward it with a full and open heart. She ran back to the well, again and again, her clay jar dipping into the cool, dark water and rising, full and heavy. And the servant watched in quiet amazement as she poured trough after trough for the camels, until every one of them had drunk its fill. He said nothing during this time. He simply watched. The twilight was deepening around the well. The first stars were appearing, one and then another, soft points of silver light in the violet sky above. The sounds of the city behind him, voices, animals, the low murmur of evening life, formed a gentle background to this extraordinary, ordinary moment. Everything was exactly as he had asked. Everything was exactly as God had arranged. The servant bowed his head. Chapter 4. The House of Welcome. When the camels had finished drinking, the servant brought out gifts, a gold ring and 2 gold bracelets, beautiful things carried all those desert miles for exactly this moment. "Tell me," he said gently, "whose daughter are you? Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" And Rebekah looked at him with eyes that held no fear, only the warm, open steadiness of a person who has been raised in a household where kindness was the first language spoken. "I am the daughter of Bethuel," she said. "We have plenty of straw and fodder for the camels, and room to spend the night." She turned and ran toward her home, and the servant stood alone for a moment at the well in the deepening evening. And he did something that the oldest, most tired, most relieved part of every human heart recognizes immediately. He bowed his head and gave thanks. "Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham," he said, barely above a whisper, "who has not forsaken his steadfast love and his faithfulness." Those words have echoed across thousands of years to reach this very night. They are still true. Steadfast love, faithfulness, not forsaken. The same God who guided a servant across a desert to a well at the edge of evening is the same presence that watches over this night, that holds this hour, that keeps what is yours in its care while you sleep. Rebekah's brother Laban came out to meet the servant at the well, his voice warm with welcome, his manner open and unhurried in the way of ancient hospitality. A hospitality that understood the sacred weight of a stranger at your door. A hospitality that saw the dust of the road on another person and immediately offered water, rest, and bread. "Come in," Laban said simply. "Why do you stand outside?" There is something in those words that asks to be heard, not just as the words of one man to another, but as something older, something that has always been true. "Come in. You have traveled far enough. There is rest here. There is warmth here. There is room for you inside." The camels were unloaded. Their loads were removed. The weight of the journey finally, gently set down. Straw was brought for them, fodder, water. And inside the house, a place was made at the table. Water was brought to wash the servant's feet, and bread was set before him. He ate in quiet gratitude. The lamps burned low in the room, casting soft orange circles of light against the stone walls. Outside, the full darkness of the desert night had arrived. The vast, silent, star-filled darkness that covers the ancient world like a blessing. Let yourself rest in that room for a moment. The warmth of it, the low light, the sound of breathing, of animals settling outside, of distant night insects beginning their soft chorus. The particular peace of a place where you have arrived after a long journey and been welcomed in without condition. This is what it feels like to be held by grace, welcomed in from the road, given rest without having to earn it, loved before you could explain yourself. Chapter 5. The Thread That Holds. The servant told his story that night, the whole of it, from the oath he had sworn to Abraham, to the prayer at the well, to the moment Rebekah appeared. He told it simply and fully, the way people tell true stories, not to impress, but because the truth of the thing still amazes them as they speak it. Laban and Bethuel listened, and when he had finished, they were quiet for a long moment. Then Bethuel spoke. "The thing comes from the Lord. We cannot speak to you bad or good. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken." And Rebekah, when they asked her, "Will you go with this man?" looked steadily before her and said simply, quietly, with the same warm directness she had shown at the well, "I will go." 2 words, enormous words, the entire weight of a future offered with an open hand. She could not have known everything that waited for her in Canaan. She could not have known Isaac, his quiet heart, his meditative nature, his habit of walking alone in the fields at evening to think and to pray. She did not know the landscape she would live in, the tent that would become her home, the life that would unfold from this single, faithful yes. But she trusted the thread. There is something in that willingness that speaks very directly to something in all of us. To every moment we have stood at the edge of an uncertain thing and felt the quiet pull of a direction we couldn't fully see. Every time we have had to say yes to something unknown, trusting that the hand that arranged the meeting at the well is the same hand that will hold what comes after. Trust is not the absence of uncertainty. Trust is the willingness to move forward through it. The caravan gathered in the morning, Rebekah and her nurse, her maids, the servant and his men. The 10 camels now rested and watered, standing patient in the early light. They mounted and turned southward toward Canaan, toward Isaac, toward the continuation of a story whose first chapters had been written in the life of Abraham so many long years before. And as they traveled, as the desert opened before them again in all its wide golden silence, Rebekah rode forward into her own unknown, and the sky above the caravan was as clear and vast and faithful as it had always been. The same sky that had watched over Abraham, that had cradled Sarah, that had carried Isaac through his most bewildering hour, that now watched over a young woman on a camel, moving through the open air of the ancient world, trusting the thread. And then, evening. It was the hour of the evening in Canaan, and Isaac had gone out into the field to meditate. The ancient word for this, to walk, to think, to be still before God, carries something within it that needs no translation. He was simply there, in the open field, in the fading light, alone with the quiet of his own thoughts and the presence that had always accompanied him in solitude. He looked up and saw the caravan coming, and Rebekah looked up and saw him, and the servant said, "It is my master." And she descended from her camel, and he brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and Isaac loved her. In 5 simple movements, a love story older than writing was set down in the oldest of books. No drama, no complication, just the quiet arrival of one soul to another, at the close of a long day, in a field at evening, under a sky full of slowly appearing stars. Let that image rest in you now. A field at evening, 2 souls finding each other, the faithful completion of a journey that had been guided every step by a love so steady and so patient that it moved across hundreds of miles and arranged a meeting at a well and brought everything together at exactly the right hour. You are in that care tonight. You are watched over by the same faithfulness that guided the servant home. You are held by the same steadfast love that Rebekah trusted when she said, "I will go." You are sheltered by the same quiet presence that was in the field at evening when Isaac lifted his eyes and saw the caravan coming across the open desert. You do not need to figure out tomorrow, tonight. You do not need to arrange the future or carry the weight of questions that haven't yet found their answers. The same hand that set a star in the sky for Abraham to count, that opened a spring in the desert for Hagar, that kept Isaac safe on the mountain, that guided a servant across 100 miles to exactly the right well at exactly the right hour. That hand is with you now. Rest in it. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts soften. Let the story of Rebekah and Isaac drift through you like a warm current. The water jars, the evening light, the faithful camels, the prayer at the well, the 2 words, "I will go," the field at twilight, the quiet completion of something that had always been moving toward its destination. You are beloved. You are held. You are safe in this night. The stars are above you, as they were above every soul in this ancient and holy story. The same stillness that gathered over the desert camp is gathering now over wherever you lay your head. The same peace that settled on that household when the servant had finished speaking, when the gifts had been given, when the bread had been eaten and the lamps had burned low. That peace is here. It has always been here. Let yourself be carried by it now, into the quiet, into the deep and restful dark, into the arms of a rest that has been waiting all day to hold you. Sleep now. You are kept.